All right, guys, let's do this. Knicks Spurs should be a great finals. Knicks were 2-1 in the regular season, one blowout win, one super close one, and then the NBA Cup win. And let's start with the Knicks trying to score on the Spurs. Should say first, similar to Spurs Thunder, there's a lot of cross-matching potential. We saw a good amount in the regular season, like Cat and Wemby actually guarded each other more than some people might think they did. But yes, we also saw a good amount of OG on Wemby. We saw, especially in the last game, a lot of Wemby playing off of Josh Hart. Stephon Castle, as you expect, has guarded Brunson, but he's also guarded Cat, making Cat-Brunson actions switchable. There's a lot of stuff, and also Mitch, I know he's got the broken finger, but I don't think a broken pinky should stop Mitch from being very physical with Wemby. Okay, so for the Knicks trying to score against this Spurs defense that is better than everything they've seen up to this point. Like most people, I'm expecting Wemby to play off of Josh Hart right away. And then from there, it's a whole bunch of things. You can have Josh Hart screen for Brunson, which they've done a lot. And Brunson did get some pretty clean pull-up threes versus Wemby in some of the regular season games between these teams when they did that. You can run Josh Hart two-man game with anybody. OG, McHale, and Cat can all make a play. Or Josh Hart can make threes, get backdoor cuts, go for rebounds, whatever. I mean, we just did this versus Jared Allen, and he drilled enough threes in game 2 and then just made enough plays around it. But Wemby's a whole different thing. I mean, Wemby is the ultimate test of how willing is Mike Brown to hurt Josh Hart's feelings. He might not have to. They might find enough counters, but if you got to go to Shamet for the full 5-out spacing or Deuce, you just got to go to it. We'll see. And if Cat has a smaller guy on him between Castle, Champagny, Vassell, whoever, the Harper, however you want to do it, you would obviously have the size advantage. It's just if Wemby can just kind of patrol around the paint, then that's going to be tough. I mean, the idea would be that you are, let's say, attacking an empty side with Cat versus one of the smaller guys, and then Wemby has to rotate from the opposite corner or something to try to make a difference. And when the Knicks, or if the Knicks, we'll see how often, go to their like full 5L lineups, I think that will also be the biggest test of the, as Zach Lowe has coined it, the one-man zone with Wemby, which is just, if my guy goes up to set a screen, somebody else go up with him, I'm going to point, I'm going to go to your guy, I'm going to do whatever I can to just stay around the paint as much as possible, right? And that means whether he's starting possessions on Cat or OG, McHale, Deuce, Shamet, whoever it might be in a non-Josh Hart lineup, right? And I think it'll be big for the Knicks, not to just have like one action, but perhaps like multiple actions where, like, let's say Wemby sends somebody off to switch, like, hey, Devin Vassell, you go up there with Cat, I'm not going to do it. Can they then get, let's say it's McHale who is now being guarded by Wemby, can you then get him involved in the action? Now, when Wemby rotates inside as, let's say Brunson is driving on Castle or Fox or Champagny or whoever, like, the Spurs will be ready for somebody else to close out to the guy that Wemby was originally guarding if it's not Josh Hart. So that's the first thing. The next thing to go with this is everything involving Cat. Between how many threes can he get up, two-man action with Brunson, of course, all of the Cat as a playmaking hub that has terrorized teams ever since they went down 2-1 to Atlanta. Well, again, so much of this comes back to the Wemby, how much free reign does he have to protect the basket? Because if he has enough, he's just going to blow any of this stuff up. Like, you can try your OG or McHale or Brunson backdoor cuts with Cat at the top of the key, on the elbow, whatever. If Wemby's just down there, it's not going to work. Now, again, Wemby had his fair share of possessions guarding Cat, even if I do think Josh Hart is going to be the first thing we see. Of course, if Wemby is ever on Cat at the top of the key, all of the backdoor cut stuff opens up. Although, to be fair, he's so tall that getting the pass over him versus somebody else is not going to be as easy. So again, the 5-out stuff or Josh Hart having enough counters. We'll get to Mitch and what he can do against Wemby, but also as far as just Brunson and Cat specifically. Again, in the regular season, there were different matchups. Sometimes Castle just picked up Brunson full court. Sometimes Castle was actually on Cat to switch some stuff, right? And, I mean, if Brunson has Fox on him, which he did when Castle was on Cat, then you can just go at him one-on-one. If it's Castle, it's once again just going to be a wrestling match, similar to what we just saw with Castle and SGA. And on some level, Brunson, like, he's going to have to deal with the issue that SGA had to deal with, which was just the rim is effectively cut off, and I have to lean more into these shots that I'm really good at, but these difficult fadeaway 15-footers all day. Their counter to that is, well, we can go 5-out. Yes, but Wemby still covers a whole lot of ground. They've mastered the switching off the ball stuff, and Castle is really annoying. And then as far as Cat, if Wemby does guard him some, then you think about the pick and pop. Again, Wemby will try to have somebody else actually guard the screen action, but if you go fast enough and early enough in a possession, you might just force Wemby to have to be up there anyway, you know? That obviously opens up so many backdoor cuts and drives for anybody. And again, this doesn't have to be with Brunson. It can be with McHale, it can be with OG, it can be with Hart, even if the Brunson-Cat two-man game is going to have the highest potential. And to state the obvious, whenever Wemby ends up on Cat, you've got to be able to really counter that with Cat's shooting or driving. And look, the Spurs will They'll be physical on the screens. They're going to close out. Wemby also is just so tall that you feel like you've got enough space on him, and well, actually you don't. And if Castle is involved in any of these, like anything involving Castle and Wemby is going to be really annoying to try to navigate. But if there are a certain amount of possessions in these games where Wemby is on Cat and it doesn't result in like Cat physically going at him on a drive, which to be fair, you could do that without a two-man game. Just go at him and see what happens. But also, if Cat is not taking some amount of threes per game where you can tell Wemby's like, oh crap, I really can't get out there, that's going to be tough. And he can get out there, but you got to get him moving a little bit before the actual three-point attempt. You know what I'm saying. Now, as far as when Cat is not guarded by Wemby and he's just got, whether it's Champagny, Vassell, Castle, whoever guarding him, Carter Bryant, whoever else. Well, number one, that means Wemby is somewhere else, so you got to deal with him somewhere. We can say body these guys in the post, beat them on drives, whatever, and he's done that throughout these playoffs when smaller guys have been on him. Other teams don't have Wemby. And then for everything I just said, on some level, it's also just going to be, do OG and McHale just cook enough versus a Spurs defense that's not going to be as loaded up towards them? They've been scoring like crazy these playoffs. And yeah, I think OG and McHale can score on Vassell, Fox, Champagny, whoever it might be. And then also just becomes how many Jalen Brunson heroics are we going to see? The answer is a lot. He's going to mismatch hunt. He's going to take and make a lot of big shots. The Madison Square Garden crowd is going to go crazy, although that's for Game 3. Maybe I shouldn't use the word mismatch hunt just because there is not a James Harden level guy that Brunson's like, okay, we're clearly going at him right now. And I should have mentioned Dylan Harper more up to this point. If Dylan Harper is matched up on Brunson, he's going to be just as physical and annoying as Castle would be. And then we have Mitch, where in the NBA Cup game especially, Mitch being in there and just being really physical with Wemby and doing something similar to what iHeart did, but Mitch is like one of the best offensive rebounders of all time. It creates a whole different dynamic. Like, Wemby really has to care about Mitch when he's in the game. Like, there are possessions where he's looking back as somebody else is driving, being like, okay, where is he? Do I have free reign to go contest this shot? And Mitch also just beat him in 1v1s for offensive rebounds as well. And while I'm sure a broken pinky hurts, I don't think it's going to prevent Mitch from doing everything he does. I mean, he's already bad at free throws. Now, of course, the trade-off to Mitch being in the game is that Wemby just goes to Mitch, and whenever Wemby can guard a typical center, it can make it just impossible to get anything, not even just at the rim, but just around the paint. But again, if Mitch bothers him enough with physicality and offensive rebounds, like that, you might have the one guy who can really get in Wemby's head like that. Now, Mitch is only going to play 20-something minutes a game, I imagine. Do you perhaps lean on a Mitch-Cat lineup more for this specific matchup than others? Possibly. I don't know. Is that enough on that side? Look, for everything I just said, it's going to be a lot of physicality. There's going to be wrestling matches for rebounds and bodies on the floor, and the ref talk is, maybe it won't be as crazy because OKC just attracts all of that, whether it's fair or not all the time. But it's probably still going to be a lot. I mean, Brunson's going to draw fouls, Castle's going to be all over him, whatever else. Okay, the other side of this. The Spurs trying to score on the Knicks. A top 10 defense regular season. Defense has been locked in for a while now in the playoffs. So the question is, do you just put OG on Wemby right away? He guarded him a lot in their second matchup, the one after the NBA Cup game, but he has not guarded him for every possession that they've been on the floor at the same time. Again, like Mitch has guarded him, Cat has guarded him some. If it is OG, then Cat's got to go on a perimeter player, most likely either Champagny or Vassell. But if OG proves to be the best 1v1 defender that you've got versus Wemby, then you just do that. Although Mitch will guard Wemby at times, and I mean, Wemby made a good amount of jumpers versus Mitch in the regular season, but around the basket, obviously Mitch has got a chance to bother Wemby. More than a chance, he's going to bother Wemby. Yeah, man, in theory, OG can have the right lower center of gravity to be physical with Wemby and not get overpowered by him. He's also, he's more agile than the bigs that the Thunder had on Wemby that still at times caused Wemby to kind of stall out in the half court. He still got buckets, but it wasn't perfect game to game, possession to possession, whatever. And he's also bigger than like a Caruso and a J-Dub who tried their best, but just couldn't do it versus Wemby in game one. And he's also versatile enough to where any screen action involving Wemby, he can switch and you feel okay with that. Like Stephon Castle is probably not going to be able to run through OG for some amount of baskets a game. Maybe he will, I don't know. He'll definitely try. And if it's Cat on Wemby, I mean, Cat's big and can move. Sometimes gets a little clumsy, but he can move. And if Cat can hold up on Wemby like that 1v1, it does mean that you can then move OG into kind of anything you want, whether it's more of a help defender role, although the Spurs have shooters kind of everywhere. You can just put him on one of the ball handlers. Fox is going to have a few days off here with his ankle. The hope for him is that he can just keep doing what he did in Game 7. Like, I don't know if anyone is expecting Fox to put so much pressure on, let's say, Cat in screen actions that it's going to force the Knicks to maybe over-rotate on Fox screen actions with Wemby or whatever. Like, Fox just might not be up for it with the ankle. And even then, the Knicks have just been so locked in on their rotations on the back end, where they will load up inside and then they will have the proper closeouts from Hart and OG and McHale, Brunson as well, typically in the right spots. I mean, like, Wemby's threat on the rolls and then the skip passes that come out of that ended up being like a pretty big deal in the OKC series, even if the Spurs also just made some crazy like one-on-one threes in that Game 7. And the Knicks dare teams to beat them on those plays, and they usually handle that stuff well. And so on some level, it'll be, does Champagnie get, 6 or 7 decently open threes in at least like more than half of these games, or does he only get like 2 or 3? As far as the individual stuff, I mean, of course, Castle, Fox, and Harper, like they're going to try to put Brunson in certain screen actions. The Knicks have dealt with that. I could picture Castle and Harper being really physical with McHale. OG and also Hart, it's not going to be as easy. Shamet has also been fighting defensively this whole time. Like, he had some really good defensive possessions on Mitchell. And I really just think at this point, with everything they've done defensively in these playoffs, and we can go all the way back to when they became a good defensive team in late January, whenever it was, I just think at this point, the idea of we can just put Cat in any action we want to and just have them be a mess defensively, I just think that's kind of off the table at this point. I'm not saying Cat will never do something annoying, like he might just pick up like a few random fouls where it's like, what are you doing? But at a certain point, you just got to accept the Knicks are really good on defense. And the case for the Knicks winning this series is they can go 5 out. They've got size in OG, Mitch, and Cat to put on Wemby. And OG, maybe he ends up really being like the best Wemby defender you can come up with. Mitch can bother Wemby on the offensive glass. And maybe all of that can just give them like a higher offensive ceiling than what OKC could get to, especially with AJ and J-Dub out. Now the Spurs dealt with their own injuries, and OKC was up 3-2. They could have won that series. So it should be a great time. I'm sure I forgot something. Anyway, prediction time. Did the Knicks win the title and burn down New York City? Does Wemby get his first ring at 22 years old? I've gone back and forth on this. Not that it matters. All that matters is what I say right now. And I do think the Knicks, between spacing, physicality, can bother San Antonio. But I am going to go with the Spurs. With all the respect in the world to this Knicks team, and I'm going to press upload before I change my mind.